pasa? What's up? Antonio Serrano here, and today I have a magical show just for you. In this case, we are going to get a little bit Christmassy, a little bit end of the year-sy. I am inventing right now and coming up with adjectives as I go, but this is what I would do as my Christmas show. In fact, let me correct myself. I am going to show you some tricks, some random tricks, and I've got in here the whole script of all of the tricks, like the set list, let's say, with some descriptions of all of the tricks that I ever used inside of a Christmas show. For a lot of years, I was the magic show that a very, very famous shopping center chain company here in Spain booked for every Christmas show they had when they light up the whole facade of the shopping malls in Cádiz. So they always booked me, so I always had to try every year to come up with different routines related to Christmas. So some routines I have them here, the material and all the stuff. Other routines I only have the idea and I'm going to give them to you. And let's get started, okay? First idea that I've got in here are a rope routine. Something very interesting is that most places where I performed Christmas show, schools, shopping centers, for cities in itself, and I perform in the middle of a big plaza or something like that, they always put some kind of decoration for me, a big stage, some decorations, and I always ask for a Christmas tree with no decoration, no ornaments, just the plain Christmas tree. And during the show, most of the things that I use, I place them on the Christmas tree. So at the end of the show, the Christmas tree was completely decorated with all of the things that we use throughout the show. And one of those things could be ropes. You can do a rope routine and you can do anything here. I've got in here Professor's Nightmare to tell a story, Christmas story about a family coming together, bonding together. Everyone is the same, and we do there the Professor's Nightmare sequence with the three ropes, the small child, the teenager, the adult. All of them are equally the same. They are going to have the same amount of fun during Christmas time. And at the end of the routine, if you end the routine taking the three different ropes, make them equal, and then fusing the three ropes into one very, very long rope, you can take that very, very long rope and put it like as a ribbon on the Christmas tree, which is very interesting. So ropes are great to perform for a Christmas show. Okay, more ideas that I'm going to hear. I don't have the prop with me here, but because it's something that I create, that I print out for every show that I have, and I try to customize it for every show, and it is basically a Christmas postcard mismade, right? Like a mismade Christmas postcard. I performed the mismade bill with a Monopoly bill in one of my shows. It's one of the fixed tricks, and I think that is quite difficult for that trick to move on because I love the simplicity of it, like a marker and a small piece of paper, and all the magic happens in the hand of the kids. So we can do exactly the same thing with a Christmas postcard, and you can change the size of the postcard, and you can even do it with a little bit less than a whole sheet of paper. And it could be extremely, extremely fun and extremely magical. Every time that I do the mismade bill, everyone is like, but it is signed. How can you turn something, put it back together, and you put it back together the other way around even, and it is signed. So it's quite amazing for laymen. So you can do the same thing with a Christmas postcard. One more idea that I've got in here to begin the show, which is quite interesting, is silk to chocolate. Okay, I've got here a small silk. We have to use our lovely friend the TT, of course, and then I've got in here a couple of options. One is a Ferrero Rocher, which is hollow, just like the seal to egg sequence, and I've got in here like a Lind chocolate, right? They come from Sweden, I think, and I don't know if you are familiar with these type of sweets. And those are great. You basically do the whole routine like seal to egg, and you show the chocolate, then you show that the silk is inside. And with this kind of chocolate is great because you can even flash the other side because the silk is red. So they see nothing weird, and you can take it out. And the only thing that we should add to this routine is a real chocolate, a real Lind chocolate or a real Ferrero Rocher. And that's basically the end of the routine. You show that the silk turned into the chocolate, and then you can take it. You bite the chocolate and you show that it is a real chocolate and you eat it completely. And my favorite line with this trick is starting the trick saying, this is my favorite trick. This is by far my favorite trick. Then I do the whole routine, and at the end of the routine, when I eat the chocolate, I go, and this is why this trick is my favorite. And that's the callback, let's say, from the beginning of the trick. So it's great, and it's Christmas related, and you can take this very, very small trick and play it extremely big for a lot of people, showing the chocolate, all the stuff. Is way easier to carry around, especially in Christmas time, because the chocolate is not going to melt. It's much easier to carry around than an egg, right? A lot of messy stuff can happen with an egg. Never happened to me, knock on wood, never happened to me, but the egg is quite messy, right? And something that could be quite funny if you are performing for a lot of people, very, very big show. After this routine, you can do some kind of production of a lot of chocolates and throw them around to the kids, all that stuff. It's going to be great and has that kind of Christmas vibe, right? Like throwing around presents, candy, that's never a bad thing, right? Okay, next I've got this routine which is starts as a Christmas trick and then it is kind of a gag. I've got in here 4 little bells, jingle bells, and 3 of them have nothing inside, are completely hollow. And only one, which is this one right here, all of these are completely hollow, and this one has inside the small ball bearing that makes the sound, and a rubber band. The rubber band goes on my wrist, and this is covered by my jacket. And now we can perform a Monty routine using these 3 bells that I put on top of my side table, and I start shuffling them. I say, no, this one is not, this one is not, this one is the one that sounds, right? And I realized that this trick is not quite impressive. The most impressive part is when I pull my sleeve down and I show this, right? So this is kind of a trick that when you reveal it, when you reveal the trick, is even more impressive than when you simply do the effect without the audience knowing what the trick is. And once again, I can remove this and I can take all these bells and put them on the Christmas tree together with the rope from the first routine, maybe. And we are decorating the tree as we go through the Christmas show, which is a great theme, right? Like decorating the tree with all of the tricks that we perform. Then let's take a look at the script. I had like a Santa Claus hat with the pom-pom, like the white ball, the white pom-pom attached to a reel, so I could take the ball, do like kind of a vanish, and the kids could see how the pom-pom went back to the hat, which is quite funny, right? And also a couple of braids that fall out from the Santa Claus hat, which is quite funny. A couple of white braids, which is quite funny, which is a gag, not the pom-pom, but the braids, a gag that I learned from Tony Christ, Saint Isaac Christmas Show DVD, which is great. A lot of ideas from here came from that DVD, and I'm going to be giving credit when credit is due to Tony Christ. Next we have the Invisible Deck, which is great, and I love talking about the Invisible Deck. I have here some spare cards. Invisible Deck. I love talking about Invisible Deck, talking about the invisible friend. I think that in English you call it the same way. In Spanish we call it invisible friend, amigo invisible, when you have to give someone a present but they shouldn't know who you are giving the present to, right? Kind of a secret Santa, I think it's how it's called. Here we call it invisible friend. So it is great to present the invisible deck as an invisible friend that I have that comes on stage, takes the deck, takes a look at the card that the spectator is merely thinking of, and turn it around. So you can present the invisible deck as the invisible friend, which is something that is quite typical here in Spain during Christmas time. And then we have, this is quite interesting, the same silk and TT that we use for the silk to chocolate. You can use it for a completely different thing. In this case, we may need some kind of special lighting, special lights. I do this every time that I perform in a theater that has these kinds of lights, which are called strobo lights. They go like this, and it gives the impression that you are moving in slow motion, right? The lights, which is kind of like a flash, and it looks like you are moving pretty slowly. And what I basically do is, once again, I talk about my invisible friend that is going to help me to do this trick. I place the silk in this hand, I simply steal it with the thumb tip. I can show this hand completely empty. I go like this, and the silk vanishes from here and is inside this hand. And I can do that a couple of times. And then I go, do you want to see how the trick is done? My invisible friend is helping me, but the invisible friend is so fast that you cannot see it. I have to do the trick a little bit slower. And now very dramatic music starts playing, the strobe light starts to happen, right? And I need a helper. Most of the time it's a friend of mine or even my father in one of the shows. And I love them to be wearing like completely black clothes, a black net over the head, and a Christmas hat, which is extremely funny because you are dressed up all in black just to be hidden, but then you're wearing a Christmas hat or a couple of reindeer horns or something like that, which is extremely funny. And then what this person does is comes from my right hand, takes the silk from my right hand going like this, and then puts the silk inside of my other hand, right? And this is a gag that is quite usual. I have seen this done with the silk through the mic stand. I have seen this done with the card to pocket, where they have another person that comes to you, takes the card, put it in your pocket, which is kind of like a comedy explanation of the trick. Like, we are moving extremely fast, we are going to do it slower, and you are going to see how the trick is done. And I think that for a Christmas show, this really makes sense, talking once again about our invisible friend. Okay, then one last idea in this middle section of the show is audio transposition, which is a dealer item by Daryl. This is a trick that I only perform sometimes. There are some threads here that I only perform on Christmas show. And they are basically a couple of toys, like, I don't know how you call this, a shaker, something like that, and a squishy ball, right? And you also have a couple of gimmicks inside the baby bag. And the idea is that the sound of both of the toys disappear, and then they go back to the toys, but they are the other way around. Like the shaker becomes a squishy toy, and the squishy toy becomes a shaker, right? I don't remember how you call a shaker, I have no idea, right? So a rattle, that's the name, a rattle, yeah, that's great. The English is kicking in right now, a rattle, a baby rattle, right? Right, so that's a great trick. It is a great trick, and it has a great hook to talk about my first Christmas gift, and the first time that I discovered that I could perform magic. And it is quite easy to carry. You just carry these couple of things with you, right? The shaker and the squishy toy inside of the bag, and you are ready to go. So, and it is quite magical. It is a quite magical trick, yeah. Something that we can also do is taking routines that we are used to perform close up and make them bigger. And I love this one. I wouldn't perform this routine in a very, very big place, but if I am performing for a few people, which is quite usual in the Christmas shows, when we perform in clubs, stuff like that, when you are performing for a few people, this trick is great. And I am using a bigger size deck, a Phoenix Parlor deck, and I'm going to perform basically the Chicago opener, right? So right here in the bottom of the pack, I have Ace of Hearts, blue and red. You can finish this routine, which is something that I sometimes do, with a deck switch, so the whole deck becomes red. And I love using a pin, a clothes pin, right, like that, and I put this in my silk, in my pocket squares pocket right here. And when the first card is selected, we do the DL to show that it is red. I put the red card like this in here, right? So it is way more visual, and we don't need a table. And now we force the second selection. We look for the red card. There is no red card. And I show, can you see the red card? It's right here. And I take it and I turn it around. And sometimes the presentation that I have is that we should save paper, wrapping paper. We should be reusing wrapping paper because we waste a lot of paper during Christmas time. So I am going to give an example of it, and we are going to reuse a card. Instead of creating another red card, I am going to reuse this card to predict the second selection, because we don't need the first selection, we already saw it, right? Which is a great presentation. And with this misdirection, you have all the time in the world to take the blue deck and change it for a rainbow deck, an omni deck, or as I prefer, a whole red deck to have more like a Christmassy thing going on, right? Then, more ideas that I've got in here I don't have the prop with me, but here in Spain it's quite usual to have like big newspapers, but they are made with like a magazine gloss kind of paper, very big newspapers with all of the toys that different shopping malls have, so kids can write the letter to Santa Claus or the Three Wise Men, which is more popular here in Spain. So for some shows I perform torn and restore newspaper, but using those very big toys catalogs, we can call them, right? But basically the workings is exactly the same, which is quite interesting. Then another idea that I have here, I don't have my egg bag with me right now. They are with my seamstress, because they are making some gimmicky, trickery things there for a couple of ideas that I have for my next show. But a great idea is doing the egg bag, instead of using an egg, using a Christmas ornament, like a small ball or even a jingle bell, right? Could be also quite interesting. And if you have the kind of egg bag with the net in front, so a kid can throw it and you see how it appears, is quite interesting, quite interesting. Then some kind of prediction is great. I completely forgot where they are, but I had a deck of cards, very big deck of cards, with different films, Disney, Pixar, DreamWorks films, very different films in there in the deck of cards. So you can force a couple of cards and predict the cards. You can even produce a plush toy or a normal regular toy of that particular character, and it's quite interesting. And we are talking about the toy that we want for Christmas or something like that. And more ideas I got in here. This is right here. This is a dealer item. Once again, this is Dean's beads from Dean Deal, and it's a great routine. It's basically a necklace made of beads that every kid in the universe knows how these beads work. They have a hole and they have like a small stick there, so you can pop one inside of the other, and the idea is that a kid says a number of beads, the kid pulls the necklace, and he has in his hand exactly the number of beads that he said, which is great. I have a very interesting routine using this trick. Very funny, where the magician fails and the kid always gets the right amount of beads, and we are increasing the amount of beads. Like we start low with less than 10 beads, then we go to 20, then we go to 40, and it is quite an energy builder when you go 1, 2, 3, 4, and everyone is counting the amount of beads that I have in my hand, which is great. Not in my hand, the kid in his hand, and I am counting them using a magic wand or a pencil or something like that, which is great. Then Christmas socks. This is great. Where when I perform socks, which is another routine that I perform regularly in one of my shows, I use 8 socks and I put them on my arms. But when you are performing for a Christmas show, you can take some garland, Christmas garland, and you can hang the socks in here using clothing pins or stuff like that, and you can do the selection process with this socks right here. Even you can ask a couple of volunteers to hold the garland just like that. You start eliminating the socks, and the last sock that remains is the one that matches the one you have in your leg. Obviously you can do the other version where you put the socks inside of a kind of bag, change bag, and the 2 spectators take one of each sock, and they are completely different socks, which is funny in itself, and they match the different socks that you have in your feet, which is a great approach to the routine too, right? But I really like the selection process to only end up with one sock and not having any bag or trickery thing to fool around, and that sock matches the only sock that I have in one of my feet, which is great. And the last idea that I've got in here is a sponge ball sequence. I only have here 4 sponge balls, but obviously when I perform for big audiences I have other color sponge balls, green sponge balls, very Christmassy. I love finishing with the ball to rabbit, and it is great because when you finish ball to rabbit, the rabbit has a built-in hole on the bottom section of the rabbit, which is great to put the rabbit on the very top of the Christmas tree. And I have another set of balls with some string around them. So I perform the routine with these balls, and then I go to the suitcase and, oh no, let me do something, and I take the other 4 or 5 balls and I hang them on the Christmas tree. And then I take the rabbit and I put it on top, and my script, when I have the ball and I change it to the very big rabbit, I say, we magicians don't place a big star on top of the tree, we place a big rabbit. Oh my god, thank you very much. And we place the very, very big rabbit on top of the tree, which is great. It's a great ending for a SpongeBob routine. Okay, so let's continue, because I have very, very few props here, but a lot of ideas here. For example, the toilet paper, you can do the Tom Bagoons, I think is the name, Jimmy Timmy toilet paper, something like that, which is quite funny. Ended up with the production of the mouth paper, the mouth coil, right? And even between all that paper you can produce something. I love producing a bottle of champagne or something like that from the paper, which is quite interesting, and it is quite a funny routine. It's one of those routines that you are not looking for a very strong magical impact, you are just looking for a funny connection with the kid that you have on stage, right? And the toilet paper, talking about wrapping paper, like I have no wrapping paper, but I think that we can do something with this, and you pull out the toilet paper, it's automatically funny, which is great. And I've got in here more ideas. For example, if you have a milk picture, any kind of routine that you can do with the milk picture is great. There is the comedy routine where you put the milk inside of a tube and you use the instructions to turn it around on top of the head of a spectator. Tony Christ in his DVD has a great idea of using a piece of wrapping paper to make the cone and pour the milk inside of the cone. Instead of using a newspaper, you use wrapping paper, and it's a very simple idea to come up with, but he was the one that did it. I think that I would never come up with that idea of using wrapping paper instead of a newspaper, which is what we are all used to. So the milk picture. Then I've got here, which is great, is the linen flower. I don't know how you call this, right? And it kind of looks like a poinsettia, like a Christmas Eve flower. And this is something that I completely learned from Tony Chris DVD and from the Christmas show. And he has the real thing, the real poinsettia top glue here. But I didn't do that because I wanted to be able to perform this every day. I don't want to perform this only on Christmas, so I said that this is my Christmas flower, but I don't like to glue on top of here the real thing, the real poinsettia, because that is going to force me to perform this only on Christmas. So I love this, and this is extremely funny, and it is great because kids know that somehow you are controlling this thing, but they laugh a lot. And Tony Chris adds something quite interesting to the pot and to the whole contraption to make it look like you can see all of the fingers of the magician's hand. So it's even more puzzling the way he does it. But I think that this works great for me. I don't mind if people know that somehow I am controlling the flower, because I think that that's part of the magic, part of the fun aspect of this, is that I am arguing with myself when the flower does everything that she wants to do, because my flower is a female. It's called Amapola, right? Which is great. More ideas. I've got, you can do some kind of force, like for example a free wheel thing or a patio force, something like that, talking about the food that you would like to eat on Christmas Eve, or the Christmas present that you would like to have, which is great. More ideas. A magazine test. This is also something that I did when I performed in the very famous El Corte Inglés shopping mall here in Spain. I took like a very, very big box. I think it was like Elsa from Frozen, a very, very tall doll, almost like a small child size, and I put on top of that a tablecloth, so it looked like a table, right? The very big box. And on top of that table I performed Richard Osterlein's magazine test, right? So the spectator on her back, using the pen, draw a circle around that toy, around the very big Elsa. And when we removed the tablecloth from the table that we were using, people could see that was the toy that the spectator selected, which was great. And we are merely using a catalog, a small magazine catalog, and a pen, which is great. Let's see more ideas. The French kiss, you know, when you change the cards from one mouth to the other, you can call about love. Christmas is a great time to love everyone. Could be an interesting hook. More ideas I find in here. I learned this from Mark James' Penguin Live lecture number 2. I think he did a couple of lectures on Penguin Magic. So the second one, he did an incredible trick using the 3 characters of the Wizard of Oz, right? The Scarecrow, the Tin Man, and the Lion. And he did kind of like an imagination game where you have to imagine the 3 characters and you start eliminating the characters until you only have one. And if it works correctly, everybody is going to end up thinking about the same character. So here in Spain, I can do exactly the same thing with the 3 wise men, which is great, and everyone is going to be thinking about the same wise men, which is going to be great. It's going to be great, and I can even have some kind of a prediction, or I can produce a toy or something like that from that particular king man that they are thinking about, wise king man, which is great. It's great. I think it's very, very interesting, and it's 100% propless. If you want to perform this as a storytelling or something like that, it's 100% propless, because you simply say, put your hands up if you're thinking about this, hands up, and when most people is raising their hand because they are thinking about the same, you say, and now open your eyes. Everyone opens their eyes and they can see that most people is thinking about the same person, which is great. It's unbelievable. Let's see a couple of more ideas. I've got the idea here of the mug and the napkin trick. You can see that in my magical performances videos. I have like a sucker effect, not a sucker effect, but where people think that they know how the trick is how the trick is done. I turn a napkin, make a ball, put it inside of a mug, and I produce, and it is completely restored. Everyone thinks that inside the mug is where the pieces are. I show that there is another completely restored napkin that says magic in the middle, and then from inside the mug I can produce any kind of liquid that I want, which is great. And it's a great link if we want to perform like the milk picture or anything like that with a liquid, right? Or a liquid inside of the newspaper or anything like that, which is also a great idea. I don't have it in here, I just came up with it. Instead of performing, or apart from performing torn and restore newspaper, you can perform water or milk in newspaper using the very, very big magazines, as I told you about, with the toys, so the kids can cut them out and make collages to do like the letters for Santa Claus or for the 3 wise men. And the last idea that I've got in here is this very small ball. This was something that had inside some kind of cosmetic product. I think it was like lip balm or something like that, I don't know. And this has here like a small hole, so I can put here a small ribbon or something like that, depending on the Christmas balloon figure that I am doing. Most of the time what I do is a penguin with a Santa hat, which is extremely cute, or a reindeer, a balloon reindeer. And this is something that I hang on the balloon figure's neck. Depending on the figure, I change the ribbon around here, because I don't want it to be quite long or quite short. And inside of here, I can put anything. I can put like a duplicate of a card, I can put a card with a missing corner, or the thing that I love is putting in here a card or a bill, a euro bill, with some sticky tape or anything like that glued in there, and simply by doing a shadow pass, kind of like a la Tommy Wonder in his mystery little box, I can produce the sign bill or the sign card that someone selected, and we can do like a very long routine trying to find the card, the gags of throwing the cards in the air, and me being blindfolded and all that stuff. And I went like, okay, the trick failed, no problem, and I give to the spectator the balloon figure, and I go, oh, have you seen this little bell, this jingle bell? Let's open it up. And inside we are going to find the sign object, which is quite a strong piece to finish a Christmas show. So guys, that would be all of the ideas, 100% of the ideas that I ever used and that I am currently using every time that I'm performing a Christmas theme magic show. So I hope that you found this information useful. Please comment below, please subscribe, and I will see you, as always, in a near future. Bye there!